We've had a lot of conversations about Medicaid expansion over the past few days. And what I'd like to do is get the conversation focused more on access to quality health care, because I think that's where the discussion needs to be focused on. That gets to personal, making it personal. We've had a lot of discussion on Medicaid expansion because of the Affordable Care Act. And we know that Section 2001 of H.R. 3590 of the Affordable Care Act actually is specifically targeted to require the states to go off and provide expanded Medicaid services. If it wasn't for the federal government, or if it wasn't for the Supreme Court, we wouldn't have the option to go off and even consider Medicaid expansion. It would be mandated, and we'd have to comply with that. So what I ask my colleagues to do is step back and actually refocus on the core issue, which is providing access to quality health care for people. Now, when Obamacare was launched, i.e. the Affordable Care Act, it was launched under the promise of lowering costs for everybody for health care. It was launched on the promise of expanded coverage for everyone. It was launched under the promise of protecting consumer choice. Well, we've had some time to actually read the bill now, and we've had time to go off and put in all those clarifying statements that tell us what the bill actually contains. And I'm here to tell you that everything that it promised that it was going to achieve, the direct opposite has happened. So it kind of gets us back to what are some solutions that do work. What we've had before us in House Bill 714 is one approach to going off and solving this problem. I would like to say it's the approach that's most closely aligned with what the federal government would want us to go off and pursue. There were a couple waivers in there and a couple free market ideas in there, but primarily it was a reaction to what the federal government was requesting states to go off and comply with. So I kind of characterize it as federal control. There are other options that I think our colleagues should be looking at that involve state control, and which is we have a lot of state control over the health care requirements in our state right now. One thing I'd like to do, though, to add to the equation is also a discussion of true individual control, i.e. getting back into examining true free market principles. And when you look at the healthcare market today, the only places where you actually do see the objectives of Obamacare actually being achieved are in free market solutions. Examples of those are in veterinary services, or in dentistry, or laser eye surgery, or plastic surgery. If you want to find areas where they actually control costs and deliver high-quality service, that's where you see it. Whenever we get the government in the middle of this, let's face it, just like we're talking here, and a lot of people want to see certain policies move one way or another, things tend to get bogged down. Things take a lot longer than you'd like them to go off and take. Well, in the free market, things happen a lot quicker, and they happen a lot more efficiently. And I think it's time that we gave a serious look to making sure that we actually focus on those types of solutions instead of the stuff that's been proven to fail every single time it's been tried. So I asked my colleagues, when we renew this discussion over Medicaid expansion, that we instead focus on a discussion of access to quality care. After all, it's time that we kind of get back to our roots. When we actually look at what actually works in regards to providing quality care, what actually works is a free market. What actually works is getting back to our founding principles that we started off with our country. And that's at the core and at the center of those founding principles is the idea of freedom and personal responsibility. And I just encourage my colleagues to renew a commitment to those fundamental principles.